This is the terrifying tale of Fenrir the Nordic wolf, an ancient myth from Norse mythology. Please sit back and enjoy the show. In the forests of Jotunheim, there was a giantess named Angerboda. Angerboda and Loki had 3 children, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel. Jormungandr was born a giant serpent, Hel was born half dead, and Fenrir was born a wolf cub. For a short period of time they lived solemnly in Jotunheim and were not disturbed. However, the Aesir of Asgard, a group of gods and goddesses, assembled and conversed on what to do with these beings who were prophesied to aid in bringing doom to them during Ragnarok, the end of the world. It was concluded that Hel would be sent to Niflheim, the land of cold and darkness, to rule over souls who did not die in battle, and Jormungandr would be banished to the sea, where he would grow so large that he would end up chasing his own tail. Meanwhile, Fenrir would be kept in Asgard. Tyr, the god of law and honor, was the one who mainly provided care for Fenrir. He would both feed and play with the canine. With the prophecy still fresh in their minds, many were alarmed at the rate in which Fenrir was growing, and it was decided that he should be contained. 3 different bindings were created before he could be successfully contained. The chains were presented as a test of his strength. If he could break out of them, he would be famous for his incredible power. Fenrir easily tore through the first binding, which was made by the blacksmiths of Asgard. The second binding was twice as strong, and although it took significantly longer to break, Fenrir still managed to tear through it. The Aesir were now very distraught and panicked. Odin, the chief of the Aesir, sent a message to Svartalheimr, the land of the Black Elves. He told them to make the strongest binding imaginable. The Dwarves made the binding out of 6 key ingredients: the sound of a cat's feet, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, a woman's beard, a bird's spittle, and a fish's breath. Due to the use of all these ingredients in this procedure, supposedly, none of these things exist anymore. This binding was the most deceptive of the 3, as it appeared as smooth as a rib. When the binding was presented to Fenrir, he became suspicious and began wondering if the challenge was in fact a trap. Fenrir only accepted the challenge under one circumstance: that one of the Aesir would place their arm in his mouth. Bum bum bum. If the deal was true, and he was released from the chain, no harm would come to the Aesir's hand. However, if it were a trap, then that Aesir would lose their combat hand forever. Since all the gods were aware that it was a trap, no one was willing to sacrifice their own arm. They were all freaking cowards. It was Tyr, Fenrir's caregiver, who finally stepped forward and offered his hand. Only after this did Fenrir allow the chain to be placed. As expected, every thrash and attempt at freedom was futile for Fenrir, and when no one came to his aid, he ripped Tyr's hand right off. Absolutely all the Aesirs were ecstatic that the binding had been successful. Other than Tyr over there without the arm, but other than that, everyone was really happy. To make sure that Fenrir was gone for good, the Aesir took an unbreakable chain, attached it to the binding, and dragged the Howling Wolf to an island named Lyngvi. The chain was tied to a massive slab of stone, and another large stone was used to anchor it, actively pinning Fenrir to one permanent spot forever. Fenrir continued to howl and roar like a baby, so a sword was impaled through his jaw, keeping it open and in silence. The saliva from his open mouth is what formed the river Van, meaning expectation. When Ragnarok finally comes, Fenrir will break free and eat everything that's in its way. He will make a comeback. This includes eating the sun, the moon, and even Odin himself. Ultimately, it is Odin's son Njord who slays Fenrir. The ancient people used stories such as Fenrir's to explain why natural occurrences occur or don't occur. they use Fenrir's story to explain why they can't hear the sound of a cat's feet, why they can't smell the breath of a fish, and so on and so forth. So this story also informs us about how greed and power can blind our better judgment. If you recall, when Fenrir was presented the chains, the last chain specifically, he was very, he didn't trust the gods. However, because he was very greedy and he wanted to show off that he had power, he took the challenge and fell right into the trap that the gods had planned. Fenrir the Wolf has also appeared in lots of Marvel Cinematic Universe material, being part of over 100 of the comic books, and recently having a profound role in Thor Ragnarok. But instead of going by the name Fenrir, he goes by the name Fenris. So that's it. Thanks everyone for listening to my TED Talk.